Toyota C-HR is a medium-sized crossover with a twist. Rather than build an obvious Nissan Qashqai rival, with all the family-friendly threats that entails, Toyota has chosen to marry the chunky stance of an SUV with a hybrid drivetrain, a sporting, swooping roofline and the looks of, quite frankly, the outlandish concept cars you sometimes see at motor shows. Read How to Drive a Toyota Hybrid. Its extraordinarily bold exterior is married to an interior that features equally surprising elements and, to top it all, Toyota has worked hard to give the C-HR a much more satisfying driving experience than we are used to from this fundamentally sensible Japanese manufacturer. In fact, Toyota describes the C-HR as a game changer for the company. The coupe SUV combination isn't unusual these days, but Toyota was the first to really bring this idea to the mainstream family crossover class, in some respects making the C-HR a potential ideal follow-on car for people who have outgrown the similarly proportioned but much smaller Nissan Juke. Certainly, the C-HR is a breath of fresh air compared with more conventional rivals such as the Qashqai, Renault Kadjar, Ford Kuga, Skoda Yeti and Kia Sportage, all of which also deserve a place on your shortlist. Toyota is hoping buyers will also consider it a worthy rival to more premium alternatives such as the Audi Q2 and Mini Countryman, too. Compromised, or is it? There are disadvantages to the shape, of course. Both rear headroom and boot space suffer by comparison, and the small amount of glass in the rear doors may lead to younger backseat occupants complaining of claustrophobia, once they're old enough to know what the word means. Still, it is possible to get a couple of adults in the back, 3 if they're really friendly, though the middle seat is very much of the occasional persuasion, and while smaller than rivals, the boot isn't tiny. It's a compromise you might be prepared to make if the rest of the package appeals. Novel hybrid appeal. The C-HR plays the style card with impressive conviction, for a Toyota, and the hybrid drivetrain is a novelty in the crossover sector. This combination of 1.8-litre petrol engine and electric motor is borrowed from the latest Toyota Prius, as is the vehicle platform the C-HR is built upon. This might not sound too promising, especially in reference to the driving pleasure claims. But not only do the Prius underpinnings give the C-HR a lower than usual center of gravity for a crossover, the whole project has been engineered in Europe for Europe, with particular attention paid to European driving habits. It's even been tested in the UK, and though we're yet to drive it here to verify the success of this process, our initial experience evaluating it in Spain has been positive. Limited engine choice, and no diesel. Around 75% of C-HR buyers are expected to choose the hybrid. Any shock in this stat is lessened by the knowledge that there is only one other engine choice at launch, a 1.2-litre turbo petrol. Toyota is not offering, and has no plans to offer, a C-HR diesel. It's actually more likely we'll see a higher-performance petrol model further down the line. For now though, the 1.2 comes as a 6-speed manual with front-wheel drive and a CVT automatic with a choice of front or all-wheel, while the hybrid comes as a front-wheel drive with the same auto box only. There are 3 trim levels, Icon, XL and Dynamic. All are well equipped, with safety and technology heavily represented. C-HR stands for Coupé High, which is straightforward enough. But is it the game changer for Toyota that the carmaker hopes it is? The verdict: we've been very impressed with the C-HR. It's a compelling blend of low running costs, an engaging drive and family practicality. That's not to mention the benefits of the 5-year warranty and Toyota's famed reliability. Read on for our full in-depth Toyota C-HR review. Hybrid produces more torque but 1.2 more fun. Clever manual transmission, noisy automatic. Don't bother with all-wheel drive. Power output from the 2 engines available in the Toyota C-HR is very similar. The 1.2-litre turbo produces 116 horsepower, the 1.8-litre petrol-electric hybrid a combined 122 horsepower. Read How to Drive a Toyota Hybrid. As this suggests, performance is also evenly matched, with 0 to 62 miles per hour in the hybrid taking 11.0 seconds, while the 1.2 requires 10.9 seconds in its most basic and fastest front-wheel drive, manual gearbox guys. The automatic and 4-wheel drive automatic versions of the 1.2 are slightly slower, but not so much that you'd notice day to day. Electric torque counts, however, because the electric motor produces 163 Nm of instant torque, almost as much as the 1.2-litre engine, and that's before the motor's 1.8-litre petrol partner makes its contribution. Once you're on the move, the hybrid often feels the more responsive choice. In some cases the 1.2 feels gutless. Keep the revs up, though, and you'll find the smaller petrol an eager companion. It even makes a pleasantly keen noise. Combined with the standard manual gearbox, this ultimately makes it the most engaging C-HR if you like to go fast. Two interesting transmissions. The basic 1.2 is the only C-HR that comes with a manual gearbox, yet this isn't quite your regular 6-speed. Toyota calls it the Intelligent Manual Transmission, IMT, because it cleverly matches the engine revs whenever you change gear to make both upshifts and downshifts smoother. It also increases engine torque when moving away from a standstill for the same reason. Both features work almost imperceptibly, but very well. The automatic offered on all other versions, including the hybrid, is a continuously variable transmission. As is typical for a CVT, this is smooth, but the engine noise often doesn't correspond with the speed you are driving, which can be a strange sensation at first, sounding rather as if the clutch is slipping. We can see very little value in opting for the all-wheel drive option on the 1.2. This is not an off-road vehicle, and in regular road driving you are unlikely to see much benefit. C-HR designed to improve Toyota's handling image, very well controlled in the corners, especially for a crossover. Steering delivers little feedback but good accuracy. Currently Toyota does not have a reputation for building keen drivers' cars, but it would like to change this. So for the C-HR, a model that was conceived exclusively for the European market, it has expended a great deal of effort attempting to understand European driving traits and how they influence the development of vehicles from the region's brands. The end result is a Toyota that is much more satisfying from behind the wheel. What makes the C-HR a better Toyota to drive? Attention to detail and a positive attitude, essentially. And by positive attitude we mean that it changes direction with keenness, rather than the reluctance you experience in, say, a Toyota Auris. To make such an amendment with a vehicle of the C-HR's increased height is impressive, and shows how seriously Toyota plans to take driver involvement from now on. As for the attention to detail, this is evident in the consistent behavior of all the handling elements. The steering isn't overbrimming with feel and feedback, but it transitions very smoothly into cornering, with little of the numbness about the straight ahead you often experience with electrically assisted systems. Similarly, the suspension's damping is excellent, not only doing a great job of absorbing bumpy roads effectively but also controlling the way the C-HR leans into turns, tilting gently rather than lurching. Toyota says it was aiming to deliver the handling enthusiasm of a competent hatchback. We'd hesitate to go quite that far in isolation, but for an SUV it acquits itself commendably, and can be placed on the road with great accuracy. Which version handles best? The hybrid carries more weight, especially at the front, so it isn't quite as sharp to drive as the 1.2. If you want a C-HR that's fun on a B road, we'd pick the 1.2 with the manual transmission. Bold interior won't be for everyone. It is functional and easy to use. Sat-nav could be clearer in many respects. The inside of the C-HR is more extraordinary than the outside, again, especially for a Toyota. Not only is the dashboard noticeably angled towards the driver, it feels rather lower and more spacious than you often find in crossovers. But most prominent of all is the Toyota Touch 2 infotainment screen, standard on every model, which sits proud at the leading edge of the dashboard in a distinctive asymmetrical frame. While this is a detail that appears to be lifted straight from the original C-HR concept car, it works well in practice, placing what is a generously large screen high up in the driver's eye line, making it easy to check without looking too far from the road. The bezel has fixed, touch-sensitive controls for ease of use, and we are happy to report these are responsive and frustration-free. Sat-nav is standard from middle-ranking XL trim. This has some neat features but struggled with clarity when challenged by Spain's, admittedly often complex, road systems on the initial launch event. Diamonds everywhere. Much of the exterior is shaped to make you think of diamonds, and reinforcing this message there is a diamond motif throughout the interior, from the shape of the button clusters on the steering wheel and below the infotainment screen to the unusual cutouts in the roof lining. It gives the C-HR a design consistency that has often been lacking from Toyota interiors. Won't be for everyone. Toyota is taking a bit of a risk with the C-HR's interior, however. The design is so bold that it will potentially put off more conservative buyers, especially when dressed with the bright blue and dusky purple trim standard on the top-spec dynamic model. More muted choices are available. We like the layered design to the dashboard and the diamond pattern door inserts, even if these are rather hard to the touch. But there are still large swathes of bland-looking plastics, which do make the intricacies elsewhere seem a little tokenistic. Toyota did development work in the UK. C-HR deals with bumpy surfaces while both versions are quiet and refined. Toyota has done development work on the car here in the UK, and promises that the particular challenge of our roads has been taken into account. Comfortable ride indeed. On the rougher sections we've so far encountered, the shock absorbers exhibited a fine ability to deal with bumps quickly and comfortably. The C-HR's platform has been reinforced in key areas with the aim of making it especially rigid, which helps in these circumstances. It does also make for a rather heavy vehicle, though, with even the most basic 1.2-litre model weighing 1,320 kilograms, and the hybrid 60 kilograms more. Our only criticism here is that the C-HR tends to shake laterally very slightly when driving over straight bumpy roads. This is a result of the relatively thick anti-roll bars, so it's a trade-off between handling and ride comfort, but it's also not a big cause for concern. Fundamentally, this isn't an uncomfortable car. Refinement once up and running, both versions of the C-HR are quiet on the move, with even the limited amount of wind and road noise, especially, depending on the surface, making the engine almost imperceptible. The hybrid can, however, operate on electric power alone for short distances, giving it the ultimate advantage in this area, particularly useful if you have sensitive neighbors but often need to leave home early or return late. It is whisper quiet in electric vehicle mode. Which wheel size is best? We spoke to one of the chief development engineers, who reckoned the heavier hybrid was best on 17-inch wheels, while the sportier 1.2 enjoyed 18-inch wheels. The hybrid felt slightly softer overall to us, so don't think there's major cause for worry either way, which is good news given that all but the entry-level trim come with 18-inch alloys as standard. The Toyota C-HR launches with 3 trim level choices: Icon, XL and Dynamic. Here's how they fare for standard equipment. Highlight standard equipment on the Toyota C-HR Icon: dual zone climate control, 17-inch alloys, Toyota Touch 2 infotainment, front fog lights, rain sensing windscreen wipers, auto dimming rear view mirror. Additional highlight standard equipment on the Toyota C-HR XL: part leather seats, with heating in the front, keyless entry parking sensors, 18-inch alloy wheels, electric folding door mirrors, sat-nav and 3-year online services subscription. The Toyota C-HR Dynamic upgrades this further with metallic paint with contrast black roof, different 18-inch alloy wheels, LED headlamps and fog lights, purple upholstery fabric. The Icon can be upgraded with tech, leather and premium packs, the latter including both leather and a specially developed 9-speaker JBL audio system that's also optional on the higher trim levels. All versions are available with sport and SUV packs, the former adding a mild body kit, the latter sidebars and faux underbody protection. The protection pack adds mud flaps, rear bumper protector, boot liner and front scuff plates. Finally, there is also a selection of entertainment packs, providing various front seat back docking options for iPods, DVD players and the like, potentially ideal for keeping the kids quiet on a long journey, and distracting them from the lack of light coming in through the tiny rear windows. A Toyota Safety Sense package is included as standard on all versions of the C-HR. This means every example sold features pre-collision system with autonomous emergency braking and pedestrian recognition, lane departure warning, easily switched off via a button on the steering wheel if you find the beeping annoying, traffic sign recognition, displays signs and speed limits in the instrument cluster, automatic high beam operation from mid-range XL trim upwards. The following additional safety items are also fitted as standard: blind spot monitors, looks for vehicles in your blind spots, rear cross traffic alert, detects approaching traffic when you're reversing to make it easier to get out of parking spaces, lane change assist, nudges the steering wheel if you attempt to change lane without indicating. Again, this is easily switched off if you don't like it. There are also no fewer than 8 airbags on every C-HR. The 2 more unusual items being a driver's knee airbag and a seat cushion airbag for the front passenger, plus the obligatory electronic stability control. All of the above are the reason Euro NCAP scored the C-HR its highest award for crash test performance. Small boot rear visibility not great. You only need to look at the roofline of the C-HR to see that it won't be as practical as most crossovers. Its footprint is small, but the C-HR can be difficult to see out of the back of. Acoustic parking sensors come standard on mid-spec models. So much so, that at this point in time Toyota only lists a load capacity figure for the boot with rear seats in place, and at 377 litres this is only just competitive with most family hatchbacks. The Nissan Qashqai grams in 430 litres, some 53 litres more. The C-HR's rear seats do fold. But if you're planning on taking it to IKEA, you should be aware that the resulting load area isn't flat, as there's a considerable lip between boot floor and the back of the seats. This is presumably partially down to the hybrid variant, which stores the batteries for the electric motor under the rear seats. On the plus side, this means the hybrid has as much boot space as the non-hybrid, and thanks to a relatively low seating position, for a crossover, there is still a reasonable amount of headroom in the rear, and 4 average-sized adults should fit inside without too much complaint. The rear middle seat is a perfunctory effort, only suitable for short journeys. The seating position is higher than in the platform-sharing Prius, however, so you do still get a more commanding view of the road in the front. In the rear you'll find the windows small, and so the rear is somewhat dark. Over-the-shoulder visibility for the driver is compromised for the same reason. Interior storage ranges from a generous glove box and deep cup holders for backseat passengers to strangely shallow front door pockets that can result in items escaping during vigorous cornering.